I never thought a single night could ruin me forever. I never thought fear could become so tangible, so suffocating, that it burrowed into your chest and refused to leave. But that's exactly what happened. Even now, months later, I still feel his presence. I can smell him in the corners of my apartment, hear the soft, wet drag of something moving in the shadows. I'm still haunted by that night, the night I first saw the pigman. It began like any other night. I had stayed late at the office, the fluorescent lights flickering one last time as I locked the doors. Everyone else had gone home hours before me. I thought I was alone in the city, that the empty streets would be silent, safe. I should have gone the long way home. I should have stayed in the well-lit streets, the main roads, but I didn't. I took a shortcut through the industrial outskirts, past abandoned factories and warehouses. That's when I first sensed it. The air changed the moment I crossed the boundary of that part of the city. It was heavier, thick with a metallic stench I couldn't identify. I passed the old meatpacking plant, its windows dark and shattered. People whispered about that place. Accidents, disappearances, strange experiments that no one would talk about. I laughed at it then, but the laughter was brittle and hollow, and it died in my throat the moment I took the first step closer. The streets were empty. The distant hum of a freight train sounded like a growl in the distance, and I thought I saw movement among the heaps of trash and rusted metal. A shadow flitted across a broken window. I froze. My chest tightened. The sound came first, a wet dragging noise, then a snort. Low, guttural, deliberate. I told myself it was nothing, a rat maybe, or the wind, but my instincts screamed otherwise. The closer I got to the alley behind the plant, the more the noises became organized, purposeful. Something was watching me. Then I saw him. The pigman. At first, I couldn't comprehend what I was looking at. A hunched shape in the shadows, moving with a jerky, unnatural gait. My legs froze. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. Then he stepped into the faint streetlight. And there he was. The face, a grotesque combination of human and pig. The skin glistened as if wet, yet patches of it hung loose, like it had been torn and stitched back together. The eyes were small, black, and unblinking. The snout twitched with every breath, flaring nostrils and glinting teeth. His limbs were elongated and bent at impossible angles, sewn together like some kind of grotesque puppet. And yet, he was my height, my build, as if he had been made in my image, but warped and monstrous. I froze, unable to move. He tilted his head, slowly, deliberately, studying me like I was prey. That's when I noticed the smell. Rotting flesh, congealed blood, and something sickly sweet like sugar melting over raw meat. My stomach twisted violently, and bile rose in my throat. Then he smiled. A pig-like grin spread impossibly wide. Teeth jagged and yellow, some sharpened to points like knives, others broken and jagged. A low, guttural snort escaped him as he began to move toward me. Not running, not walking, gliding, with a predatory rhythm. He was always closer than I thought, emerging from shadows as if they obeyed him. Every corner I turned, every alley I hid behind, he appeared. Snout twitching, teeth glinting, dragging something behind him. I ran. I don't remember thinking, only moving, dodging trash bins, leaping over broken glass, every muscle screaming. The streetlights flickered, and I prayed for their mercy. But he followed. Always. Silently. The wet squelching of his steps etched itself into my memory. The rasping of his breath echoed in my ears. Every sound in the world shrank to the presence of him. I ducked into an alley and pressed against a dumpster, trying to stop shaking. Then I heard it, the most horrifying sound imaginable, dragging. He was dragging something. I couldn't look. Couldn't. But I did. The trail of dark, sticky blood wound across the alley, and then I saw it. what he had been dragging. A mannequin? No. Something human, I realized too late, twisted and mangled in ways that made my mind rebel. But I knew. It had been alive once, and he was toying with it. Panic overwhelmed me. I bolted again, bursting into the main street, and ran until I reached my car. My hands trembled violently as I fumbled with the keys. I slammed the door, turned the ignition, and saw him, standing at the edge of the lot, watching, waiting. I drove like a man possessed, tires screeching, heart pounding, until I was back in my apartment. I locked every door, barricaded the windows, and sat on the floor, shaking, trying to convince myself I was alive, that I was safe. Sleep didn't come. Every shadow twitched. Every creak of the building made me flinch. And then I heard it, a soft snort, followed by the scraping of something across the vents. I told myself it was my imagination. Days passed, but the nightmares didn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I was back on that street. The pigman was always there, smiling, dragging victims, waiting. I stopped going out at night, stopped answering the phone, stopped living. My life had become a shadow, dominated by fear and the feeling that something was watching me. Then one night, I realized the truth. The pigman didn't just follow people. He hunted patterns. He watched, studied, waited until someone made a mistake, a sound, a misstep, a weak moment. He thrived on fear, but more than that, he learned from it. If I didn't act, he would come for me during daylight. I decided to fight. I researched obsessively, old newspapers, police reports, internet forums, anything that mentioned him, whispers of mutilation, disappearances, sightings of a man with pig-like features. Some claimed he was a failed experiment in a meatpacking plant decades ago. Others swore he was a demon, a curse. All I knew was that he existed. I had to confront him before he destroyed me. I prepared meticulously. I studied his movements. He was territorial, methodical, predictable. I left scraps of meat leading to an abandoned factory. I waited in the shadows, shotgun ready, every muscle coiled. Hours passed. The silence was suffocating, broken only by the occasional drip of water echoing through the abandoned factory. My hands ached from gripping the shotgun, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it would shatter my ribs. Every shadow seemed alive. Every shift in the stale, heavy air made my skin crawl. And then I heard it. The wet, sickening drag of something across the concrete, punctuated by guttural snorts and the shuffle of impossibly long, twisted limbs. My breath hitched. I didn't dare move, barely daring to blink. From the darkness, he emerged. The pigman. My stomach lurched at the sight. His glistening, malformed body was grotesque, stitched and twisted like a nightmare stitched together from flesh. His tiny black eyes locked on the bait, then flicked toward me, and that horrifying grin spread across his face, wide enough to split his head. The snout twitched, teeth glinting in the faint light, saliva dripping in thick, viscous strands. My finger tightened on the trigger. He lunged. Instinct took over. I fired. The blast ripped through the silence. The recoil threw me back slightly, and for a moment I expected him to collapse. But he didn't. He screamed, a sound that wasn't human, wasn't animal. It tore through the factory, raw and unholy, a mix of anguish, rage, and something primal that clawed at my very mind. I fired again, the shotgun bucking violently in my hands, and again until the air was thick with smoke, the metallic scent of blood and charred flesh mingling in my nose. Finally, he fell. Still, silent. I approached cautiously, every step trembling, every nerve alert. His body was twisted and smoking, the grotesque amalgamation of man and pig still. His eyes, those tiny black soulless orbs, faded from life into a blank final stillness. I didn't care about the horror of his form. I had survived. I had endured. Even now, months later, I feel him. Faint snorts echo in the corners of my apartment. Sometimes, in the shadows of my vision, I glimpse the wet drag of something moving where nothing should be. I know he waits. Nightmares like that don't die, they linger. I survived. I learned that courage isn't just facing fear, it's controlling it, owning it, refusing to let it define you. I keep a flashlight by my bed, a shotgun in the closet, every lock secured. And every night, before sleep comes, I whisper, barely audibly, I'm ready for you. Because next time, I won't be running. I'll stand. I'll fight.